like, do I look at the camera or I don't like look at the person that I'm talking to, you know? It's weird. Or do I watch myself, you know, which is even more
A
awkward.
little bit of both.
Yeah.
All right, so we have one, two, let's see, Tracy's there. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Holly, I keep looking around for Tad. Sorry, Holly.
That's okay. He's prettier.
Tad, where did Tad go? All right.
I'm on duty anyhow.
I'm going to call the meeting of the Yelm City Council of June 8th, 2021 to order, and we'll do so in our usual fashion by saluting our flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk take the roll, please?
Councilmember James Blair.
Here.
You said here.
Okay, sorry. Councilmember Molly Carmody.
Here.
Councilmember EJ Curry.
Here.
Councilmember Holly Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Joe DePinto.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Kaminsky.
Here.
Mayor J.W. Foster.
Here. She did not do that on purpose, Terry.
Hey, they even forgot me today. Did you notice that?
I noticed that even at the chamber.
I'm feeling invisible, invisible.
And yet you're so memorable. It doesn't make sense. All right, with a quorum and all present, I'll just, before we go to the agenda approval, I'll just remind everybody this is again, a hybrid meeting. Those persons who are in attendance have chosen to do so within the parameters of the guidelines for a safe workplace that we've established as a city building, and others have opted to Zoom in. So you hopefully can hear us in the attendees. So I'll just say hello to Debbie now, and we'll get to public comment in just a moment. So we have an agenda before us, council. Would anyone like to approve that?
Actually, I would like to move that we accept the agenda as well as the amended minutes, which were just emailed to us by Kathy Linnemeyer. There were a couple of mistakes in there. I caught them, she fixed them. So now they've been updated, but they're in our inboxes as we speak. So not the ones that are in our packet, but the minutes that she's updated. So I move to approve the agenda and the minutes.
Just a clarification, the agenda is all of these bulleted items. The thing you're speaking of is the consent agenda.
Oh my goodness gracious. All right, then just the agenda, please.
Okay. So the agenda is moved to approve as the agenda stands. Second?
Second.
Seconded by Tracy. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We'll come back to you.
Okay. See, this being in person, man, it's got me all whacked out.
That's okay. We're ready. All right. So special presentations this evening. We've asked Mr. Kurt Harden to come from Medic One. The agenda said Friends of Medic One. That was an error on our part. Kurt is actually here as the administrator, the director of Thurston County Medic One, to give you factual information about the upcoming levy lid lift on the August ballot. And he will not, of course, because of his official role, be advocating for passage, just giving you the factual information, answering any questions that you might have. With that, I'll introduce Kurt and have him share his slides. And go ahead, Kurt.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me see if I can replicate what I did a few minutes ago, and you should have the slides in front of you.
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. So I thank you again for the opportunity to address you tonight. What I'm going to do is go through the Medic One levy lid lift proposal. And as I go through all this, I'm going to answer questions at the end, or as we go through it, if you have questions, feel free to speak up. And with that, I will start off and just go into that. The proposal is to restore the Medic One levy, which currently is at 28 or approximately 29 cents per thousand of assessed value. And it's designed to restore it to the original 1999 voter-approved amount of 50 cents per thousand. The proposal is going to add approximately 21 cents per thousand over a span of 6 years and using the current assessed values to achieve the previous voter-approved amount of 50 cents per thousand. One note I'd like to make is also it will allow taxpayers who qualify for a senior citizen, disabled, or veteran exemption under the RCW to be exempt from the increased levy amount if it passes. And I would refer to the assessor's office if anyone wants more information on that exemption. So as an overview, the original permanent levy was passed in 1999 by the voters, and it was 50 cents per thousand. And then due to statutory limitations, the current rate has dropped to approximately 28.9 cents per thousand of the assessed value. And this proposal is going to restore it back to the original 1999 voter approved rate of 50 cents per thousand. And it's going to do that over the next 6 years. I want to do a little bit of history on the Medic One because everybody in the public may not be familiar with it and how it partners with the local fire service provider. So 911 operators receive and process calls from the public in Thurston County and then dispatch the appropriate EMS personnel. And they dispatch the closest available fire department medical resource. And then if necessary, paramedics are dispatched if more care is needed than the fire department EMT personnel can provide. I want to also say that each fire agency is an independent, funded, separate intergovernmental agency from Medic One. So the emergency medical care in Thurston County involves interagency, private, and governmental cooperation. I want to see Medic One supports a comprehensive countywide layered EMS system, and it's composed of the 12 fire departments and districts across the county, and there's over 600 responders in those fire agencies. 2 ambulance companies, 2 hospitals, and serving the 291,000 people in Thurston County. This layered response results in dispatching the closest and appropriate resource to call for every call for service. Last year in 2020, there was a little over 33,200 EMS calls in the county that were responded to by EMTs, and when necessary, the paramedics. The TCOM dispatchers send those resources based on the information they received on the 911 call. EMTs are charged with treating our basic emergencies and supporting the patient until paramedics arrive if the paramedics are needed. Advanced life support trained paramedics respond to the most serious situations and continue the care. Paramedics respond from 7 locations from around the county in support of the EMT responders. I will also tell you that the EMS trained providers, those EMTs and or paramedics, they provide that highly specialized care for the patient from the patient location all the way to the hospital emergency department. So I want to talk a little bit about basic life support and advanced life support. I'm often asked, how do I know if EMTs are showing up or paramedics are showing up? EMTs fall under the basic life support and paramedics fall under advanced life support. I will tell you that if the response vehicle that shows up is from your local fire agency, those are EMTs. If the response vehicle that shows up has Medic One on the outside, those are the paramedics. So under our EMTs and our basic life support, we dispatch every 911 call, EMS call dispatches a BLS or EMT response. The BLS and EMTs are the backbone of our EMS system. And I will tell you that Medic One provides the initial training and mandated ongoing education for the EMTs across the county. They provide some of the EMS equipment and medical supply support. And they also provide to the general public CPR and AED classes. And they provide that for free because what we found is 74% of cardiac arrests occur in the home. And we want that bystander immediate CPR action. We want to make sure we have trained people who can respond from their home. On the advanced life support side for the paramedics, we have 7 frontline paramedic units from across the county, and we have 6 reserve units. Medic One provides the financial support for 100% of the equipment and supplies for those medic units. And we also provide 80% of the paramedic salaries. And I will tell you, going back to the equipment and supplies, the medic units and equipment are county property under Medic One, are maintained by Medic One. So a little bit of the history on the levy. The voters authorized Medic One in 1974, and it was funded by an ongoing levy vote. In 1999, the voters passed an approved permanent levy of 50 cents per thousand for Medic One. So Medic One has not been on the ballot since 1999. The county legislative authority, county commissioners statutorily increased the Medic One revenue by 1% each year, and that's the maximum allowed from 2008 to 2021. The taxable values, though, increased 255% from 2002 to 2021, whereas the tax revenue was limited to an increase of only 105%. I'm going to get a little bit more into that here in a minute. And when the assessed values increase, as you know, at a rate greater than the tax does, the levy rates then are driven down. And as I mentioned before, the current Medic One levy rate is at 28.9 cents per thousand of assessed value. Now, here's the forces that are driving our costs up. Healthcare. Expenditures from healthcare have increased annually of 5% over the last 10 years. That's supplies and equipment, and they're anticipated to increase 5.3% annually through 2029. Our call volume, our EMS 911 call volumes increased from 24,392 in 2008 to just a little over 33,200 in 2020 last year. And it's projected to go over 36,000 EMS 911 calls in 2021. And then population keeps increasing. Thurston County population is approximately 291,000 today, and that's an increase of 21% since 2008. So I want to talk a little bit about the impact if the ballot measure does not pass. What we're going to have to do is defer modernization and replacement of medical equipment. That means 2 medic units, which are scheduled for replacement in 2023, will have to be deferred. Another 3 medic units scheduled for replacement in 2024 will have to be deferred. And then another 2 in 2025 have to be deferred. And then we have to defer 120 of our AEDs, which are scheduled for replacement in 2023 and 2024. And then our ventilators, we have 1 ventilator and a backup for each of the medic units. So our 14 ventilators will have to be deferred from the 2023 replacement. And then we'll have to cancel the deployment of the 8th medic unit. Because of the increased population and the increased call volume, we have currently scheduled an 8th medic unit for deployment to respond to the increased call volume that we're receiving. And then we'd have to also reduce the financial support to fire agencies for medical equipment, the supplies, and the training for EMTs. And then our citizen CPR training program would have to be reduced by 64%. So what I'm going to show here in a graph is what I've been talking about for the last couple of slides, which is the 2008 to 2019 property tax versus expenditures versus the ending fund balance in Medic One. This blue line is the Medic One fund balance. This green line here is the revenue coming in, and this gray line is the expenditures, and these are actual numbers for Medic One since 2008. And what you can see is as expenditures have gone up, the revenue is limited and capped because the property tax revenue is limited to 1% increase over the previous year, plus the new construction. And so what you see here is as expenditures go up and revenues are limited, you see the Medic One fund balance dropping down. So I'm often asked, what's the impact on a home? And this is from the assessor's office. The assessors provided us this information that for a home valued at $300,000 assessed value, currently that assessed value at 28.9 cents per thousand, it's $87 per year for a Medic One property tax. What we're proposing is in 2022, the first year, increasing 6 cents per thousand, which is an $18 annual increase for a home assessed at $300,000. And then the next 5 years, increasing the amount 3 cents per thousand each year, which is a $9 annual increase for that assessed value. So combining all these increases, the estimated total increase over 6 years is 21 cents per thousand, or for a home valued at, or assessed at, I should say, $300,000, it's $63 in 2027. And those are all, of course, based on 2021 assessed values. So I want to talk a little bit about the Emergency Medical Services Council, or EMS Council. They have Medic One system oversight. And the reason I bring this up is the Thurston County Emergency Medical Services Council, it's composed of 13 members from across the county. They're elected officials, medical professionals, EMS provider agencies, and 3 citizens at large. And they meet monthly to advise Medic One and the Board of County Commissioners on Thurston County EMS issues. So the Thurston County EMS Council recommended to the Board of County Commissioners to place this Medic One tax increase on the ballot. And so the Board of County Commissioners on May 4th, they voted to place the Medic One ballot measure on the August 3rd, 2021 primary for voters to consider restoring the Medic One levy, the previously voter approved amount, which is 50 cents per thousand, and doing it over a 6-year time frame. So short and sweet, that's what I have. And then I will want to be able to ask or answer any questions that you may have.
Molly?
Yeah, so thank you, Kurt. That was awesome. I had a couple of different questions. I'm gonna try and remember to look at the camera and not at the wall.
Okay.
So I noticed that you put your response numbers in 2020 were something like 33,000, and you expect them to go up to 36,000 roughly next year. I was wondering, just out of curiosity, was there an increase or decrease in responses from 2019? And do you think that it was maybe like, were people calling less or more because they were home more often or anything like that?
Yeah, so from 2019 to 2020, our response numbers actually dropped. And then the months they dropped were similar to the months where everything shut down. So starting in March and in April and into May, our response numbers from 2019, it was 35,000, a little over 35,000 was our response numbers. In 2019, you saw it was 33,200. We're seeing that uptick this year in 2021. That makes us believe that we're going to be over 36,000 this year.
Okay, thanks. Is it okay with you guys if I have a couple more questions? Okay. My next question is, you mentioned that you're sending out units, and what consists of a unit? Is it the vehicle plus the people? And if so, like how many people are in each vehicle, et cetera?
So each medic unit, there's 7 medic units, and they have 2 paramedics in each medic unit when they respond. And that medic unit has the equipment in it. It has the ventilators, it has the pharmaceuticals, it has all those that equipment and pharmaceutical capability so that the paramedics can treat the patient.
Okay, thanks. And then my last question is, you noted that the Thurston population is definitely increasing. I have also been told, and I've seen different studies that say that it's also aging. Do you see that as an increase in calls because of an increase in average age to the average citizen, or do you think that age is not going to have a bearing on that?
Age will, our demographics are changing and we're becoming older as a population. We've seen those studies as well. And that does have a factor in the number of calls we receive. So the population, raw numbers going up has a factor, but also the demographics changing has a factor as well. And I will tell you, as we get older, we have more ailments. I will tell you that what I was able to do 30 years ago, as an example, isn't what I'm able to do today.
Right. Have you contacted AARP at all for any help in pushing this ballot measure?
I have not. I can educate, so I can reach out to AARP and provide them the information. And
They might be able to help too.
Right. Okay.
That's all I got. Thank
Great
you.
point. That's a great point.
Good question. Any other council members with questions? Councilmember Pino.
Thank you, Mayor. I was wondering, it seemed like revenue has been in decline for a while now. Why is it all of a sudden this year that a levy has been asked to be increased rather than prior years?
Let me, if I can go back to my slides, hold on just a second, and I will go back to that graph that I showed on here. Here we go. So we had a fund balance. And so when you look at the fund balance versus the budget expenditures, there was sufficient funding available to meet the needs. And so there was the EMS Council made a conscious decision not to go back to the voters while they still had a fund balance that was capable of meeting their needs. This year, we're able to meet the needs, but they're going back to the voters because in future years, we won't be able to meet the needs that we've projected.
Thank you.
I don't see any. Oh, Councilmember Wood, thank you.
Thank you, J-Dub. I'm I'm just curious about this. I know that in this last period of time, the county has assessed my house 3 times the value of what it was worth, and that's with doing nothing to it. I know that just based off of the growth of our own small community, the population of Washington State's growing. We got people coming in. I'm seeing a lot. I'm curious, if based off of what you just said to Council Member DePinto, you guys waited till we had a problem before you approached the voters on doing something about it or addressing it, and that's concerning to me. It just seems like these, in your explanation. And by the way, my understanding was this was going to be to for information and not one-sided or the other. But it's clear that we're getting a push to pass this. But it just seems like there's a lot of information that's not missing there. It seems like this is geared towards showing us how important this is. And one more thing I wanted to just mention that I hope all the other council members have noted is any time in the past when we've talked about, and I think it's a great idea, but I think there's a dual purpose here. Anytime we've had any questions about anything in reference to ongoings in the city, immediately we're told to call the police, and I know, as well as all the rest of my fellow council here, all of this is tracked. These numbers are tracked to show just what Mr. Harden showed us here, that it's been an increase in these areas of calls. Yet this is what we're instructed to do, which I know personally is what I'm when my chief tells me that this is the way we're to handle this is what I'm passing on to my community. So it just seems that we're not getting the full picture here. There's a lot of questions there as to why, once again, why is this still right now, if you've been trending this way, the idea to wait till we're, in a position of need and in a critical change, to come to us and discuss it with us. It just seems like we're kind of being led down a path here. And that's my 2 cents worth on that.
Do you want me to provide a little bit of context if I could?
Please.
Okay, so in 2019, the EMS Council started looking at this issue and started, what's for a better term, diving deep. They were already deep into the details, but they're starting to consider whether or not to run a ballot measure in 2020 or 2021. Then last year, COVID hit. And what happened as a result of COVID was the EMS Council did not meet. Meetings were canceled for a period of time. And so I will tell you that it's not a good excuse. It's part of what happened though. And so as a result of that, and the EMS Council not meeting for a period of time, that by the time we got back together and they started looking and capturing this, they started that process last fall to bring the Board of County Commissioners and apprise them of the situation. So I'm just giving you the history, and I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to show you that things happen.
No, and I appreciate that, Mr. Harden. I'm just curious, as I mentioned, as I'm not sure if you're aware, I'm on TCOM, and we went through this same process of gaining a percentage and going to a vote as well. So I'm familiar with the process, but I know that during that we also took into account how much revenue was coming in based off of things that were supposed to be happening. The prepaid cellular, as you recall, initially wasn't providing us the funding that was legislated that it would. And these things, took place and took time to shake out. However, in this time, our population continues to grow, and I'm sure your house is assessed way more than it was, 5 years ago, as the rest of us are. So therefore, this tax being based off of an assessment of our value of our properties, automatically we're paying more because the assessment of our property is drastically increased. So with that being said, it seems that it would be in a sense a double dip, where we're already paying more. In 99, the legislation passed that we were allowed to increase it 1%, 1%, 1%. And based off of what you're telling us, yes, the cost seemingly has gone up, just like for every one of us who own a business and every one of us who run a personal budget. So this is the proverbial trickle down effect here, where those of us that own the property are the ones at the bottom of the hill. And now our overvalued house is going to cost us even more in taxes than we already agreed on as voters. So, it just seems like it's a big ask.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I can't talk to too much on the assessment process because I'd have to defer to the assessor on that.
Kurt, if council members have more questions, they'd like to get more information, is there a website or other place that they could go to get that information?
Yeah, they can go to the Medic One website, they go to the county website. The Medic One website is a link off of that. And then I think I passed down my information as well to, they can contact me and reach out to me as well. And I believe that's going to be on the slides I sent that we're going to be sharing.
Okay, yeah, this slide deck will be included in the minutes for the council to be able to look at. And then again, if you have any other questions for Kurt, of course, from my career, I'm also aware of all of these things and could give you some insights if you'd like to ask me any questions about it. But for the numbers, I'll have to turn you back over to Mr. Harden or one of the EMS council members. So, Kurt, thank you so much for coming in tonight. Hope the drive-in was easy for you.
Much easier than usual. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, appreciate Kurt coming in. Later this month or early in July, we'll also be getting, just so you know, a presentation from Southeast Thurston County Fire Administration, who will also be putting a ballot measure, similar ballot measure on the August ballot. So it's going to be crowded ballot and asking for a lot. You can look forward to that presentation in July. We have had nobody register for public comment. I'm going to do a quick look up here in the attendees to see if any hands are up or if anybody from the attendees would like to say anything to council that's not on the agenda. Bree, are you able to make it so that all the attendees could talk right now? Actually, looks like I can. Okay, hold on. I'm going to.
Come on, you've been doing this for how long now?
No, hey, wait till you try it. Okay, hi, I've unmuted each of the attendees. If you have anything that you'd like to address council on that's not on the agenda, you could just speak up and I take you in order. Okay, but then we have no public comment. We'll go back to our agenda, which is the consent agenda.
Yay. All right, I move to approve the consent agenda with the amended minutes that were emailed to us most recently by Kathy.
Second.
Look how succinct that was, right?
Yes.
Instead of not
Practice.
stumbling over my words, I know.
Any other discussion about the consent agenda? All in favor?
I
And those minutes will be recorded and in your packet and you're recorded in the minutes accurately. So under new business now, we're going on to resolution 616, also in your packet. This was brought to your attention and asked to be put on the agenda by Council Member Blair. Hopefully his connection is good and he can introduce this and start the discussion on this resolution. James?
I'm here. First off, I want to start with this is not a political thing. This is not about anyone's views over COVID. This is not about wanting to get back at the state or anything like that. Only because I've seen those discussions going around. This is about concerns over privacy, period, and whether any government, especially private people, should be asking for people's vaccination records. And not only asking for it, but storing that information and making it available to the state upon request. There are required vaccines in our society, mainly for school, young children. But those are vaccines that have been tried and tested over decades. This is a vaccine that's brand new, does not have full FDA approval. It has emergency use authorization. Now, I'll step back a little bit. This also is not anything to do with putting in question the safety of it. It has nothing to do with discouraging anyone from getting it. And there's a dog barking. And it has nothing to do with discouraging anyone from gathering information regarding it. All this is about is, should government be accessing people's records like this? And if you ask me, no, they shouldn't. They should not be mandating private businesses to require this information from their employees in exchange for not wearing a mask anymore. This entire ordeal over the last year and a half has just, it's been insane. It's one step after another, over and over. At some point, this has to end. I mean, how long are we going to let them keep doing this stuff? Further than that, if anyone has any other questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer what I can.
Well, for the benefit of the people viewing externally, someone should read the proposed resolution. James, are you prepared to do that this evening?
I don't have it on paper in front of me, and I'm not sure how I would do that on my phone.
A packet on your email. If you look at the
Oh,
email,
Can we just?
No, I understand. If I minimize this, can you still hear me?
yeah,
Okay, hang on.
He's got it.
All right, can you hear me?
yeah.
Yes.
All right, so as it's written right now, it says resolution number 616, a resolution of the city of Yelm, Washington, prohibiting the collection, storing, or distributing of COVID-19 vaccination information. Whereas recent guidance from the state and LNI instructs employers, which includes the city of Yelm, Washington, to collect employee COVID-19 vaccination status and have that information available upon request. And whereas vaccination of any kind is a personal choice and should be made based on information and an individual's own assessment of risk. And whereas COVID-19 vaccines are readily available for those who wish to receive them. And whereas discrimination of any sort, including vaccination status, is unacceptable. And whereas the city of Yelm respects the rights of the people to make decisions for themselves regarding vaccination, especially one only available under emergency use authorization. And whereas any requirement of proof of COVID-19 vaccination is an invasion of privacy and arguably a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Yelm, Washington, the City of Yelm, Washington is prohibited from collecting, requesting, and/or storing individuals' COVID-19 vaccination information or distributing COVID-19 vaccination information to any entity. The City of Yelm, Washington also discourages any other entity from doing so. Now, to clarify, at the very end, I wrote discourages any other entity from doing so because after discussions, my understanding is we don't have that jurisdiction to say that anywhere within the city, within city limits cannot be doing this, but we as the council can make that policy for the city.
So the resolution has been read. You have two ways of going about this, council. You could discuss this for more clarification, or you could wait until there is a motion and a second, in which case that would elicit a vote, but discussion would come first, where you could ask questions from staff for support. Councilmember Carmody.
Yeah, so I have a question. What would happen to these meetings particularly if the city doesn't collect this information? Would we still be able to not wear masks if we're vaccinated?
Under the current guidelines, up until June 30th, when things might change again, we would continue to hold the meetings just like this. If a council member such as yourself comes in and wants to attest to their vaccination status, then you've achieved compliance with the guidelines that we put in for a safe workplace under the LNI rules, as any of the other the employees in this workplace have. So those of us who are not wearing masks tonight have made that attestation. demonstrated to our supervisor that we have the vaccination, either through demonstration of the vaccination card or by a written documentation from a doctor that demonstrates that we have had that, at which point we attest that we have been vaccinated. We're 2 weeks past our final shot, and we can now take our masks off in the workplace. Anybody who has not achieved that is required under this rule to continue to wear their masks. And so as Councilmember DePinto has graciously done so tonight, not having achieved full vaccination or just wishing to wear his mask for safety.
Point of order, Mayor. I don't believe it's appropriate to say my intent to wear a mask or not to wear a mask.
If you'd let me finish, maybe I would have said, or he just chooses to wear his mask because he doesn't want to demonstrate whether he's been vaccinated or not.
There's no reason to bring
So
it
your
up.
point is taken. Thank you
There's no
for
reason
wearing
to
your
bring
mask. I appreciate it.
it up, though.
Appreciate you wearing your mask. So that's an answer to your question, Molly.
Okay. I think for me, this resolution really doesn't hold any weight because the state of Washington already has all this information. I mean, when I got my vaccination, this information was already forwarded to the state of Washington as it was to the CDC. So the state already has my information. I don't see the point in arguing about whether or not Yelm should collect that same information.
Councilmember DePinto?
Thank you, Mayor. As you can see, just by implying that one's reason for wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, whether they sign the attestation or not, I think your explanation was fine earlier to Councilmember Carmody, but then you chose to further that and drag me into this, whether it implied my reasons for not wearing it or wearing it, my vaccination status, not vaccination status. I think it's inappropriate to this general conversation to be collecting that information. And as you can see, I just got called out on my status, on whether I'm vaccinated or not, whether or not to sign the attestation or not. And it brings a negative connotation, whether or not I've been vaccinated, whether or not I signed it. It's just inappropriate I wish not necessarily from the city, but especially from the government, the LNI, I wish they wouldn't have put this upon us and forced our hand here to whether or not we can accept or not accept medical records, or we should be holding those records for people. I personally view this as a medical issue, and it should be between your doctor and yourself and perhaps your close loved ones, but not the government, and certainly not publicly like this.
Councilmember Curry?
Okay, I'm more concerned about the legality of it. If this is a non-binding resolution, and it states here from our attorney, that means the city of Yelm's insurance company does not have an obligation to defend those responsible for that action. So if somebody were to follow along the city of Yelm isn't marking down people who have been vaccinated. If somebody else does that and they get fined, they could turn around and sue the city because they were following what we did. Is that right?
Yes.
And then in that case, they could individually take legal action against any council member. Is that right?
According to the information that we get from our attorney and from the Risk Management Services Agency, which provides our insurance, yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'm not willing to take that chance.
Neither am I.
Councilmember DePinto, excuse me, Councilmember DePinto, I'm going to go to Councilmember Wood, who has not had a chance to speak yet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me ask, did our attorney have an opportunity to thoroughly look through this?
Yes.
I'll ask City Administrator Graham to log on here. He has the most recent communication with Brent Dilley.
Well, the reason I asked, Mr. Mayor, is based off of the last email I received, it made it pretty clear that Mr. Dilley didn't have time to look through it presently, but was willing to look through it. And I'm just concerned that we haven't got a complete picture of what we're dealing with here. I have to echo Councilmember Blair's concern that at what point do we put our foot down and say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't how it works. This is still America, right? This isn't a normal thing for the government to be requesting medical records from people. Regardless of where this conversation goes or what we decide we're going to do, I think everyone here needs to really think about this. At what point did it become okay for the government to request our medical information and require us to get a emergency approved vaccination. You know that, and another question for you, Mr. Mayor, if you've been vaccinated, do you not feel safe with other people around that maybe haven't been vaccinated? I'm just concerned that maybe this vaccination isn't nearly as effective as they're playing it up to be. Because if it were, why all this concern? It just seems like an information grab from where I'm standing, and it's concerning to me. You know, I feel that we're losing track of the country that we all grew up in and all love. And all of a sudden, all these, because of some fear of some unknown, that every turn we're getting more information to tell us that maybe the information we got before wasn't quite exactly what it was set up to be originally. It just seems a little sketchy, and I think we need to tread very lightly here. And before we just throw away all of our rights and say, hey, you know, Mr. Inslee said this is what we have to do, or Mr. whoever at the health department, or Mr. Fauci, or whoever decided that they're the most educated and informed person and know for all of us what's going on, even though they're not 100% accurate. I just think we need to really, really be careful here on what we're willing to just give away.
Tracy, in answer to your question about the letter from Mr. Dilly, would you be interested in having me read that letter so that everybody could hear what he said?
Please do. Thank you.
Okay. So the latest letter that we got from our attorney says, after a cursory review of the email from Labor and Industries, which we could also share with you here momentarily, I think the L&I response you received adequately sums up their authority in the last paragraph, which is, a local resolution or ordinance does not supersede the authority of the department to set workplace safety standards, conduct inspections, or take enforcement action. If council takes an action contradicting state workplace safety requirements, it would be a non-binding resolution. Additionally, if the city does not abide by the laws of the state of Washington and takes an action to the contrary, the City of Yelm's insurance company does not have an obligation to defend those responsible for that action. And then he said that he would follow up with more. But basically, he's just saying that the response that we got from Labor and Industries upon asking that question was, if you make this resolution, it doesn't supersede the LNI's authority to still mandate those requirements. I'm going to ask that you hold your questions. I see Councilmember DePino has been waiting patiently.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I was curious because I didn't see this email.
Even at 5:13 p.m.
So after the meeting, or just about shy of an hour before the meeting started, I asked for this information about a month ago or so. It's really concerning to me, the timing of this email, right before we're starting this meeting. It seems like it'd be germane to this conversation to have this information prior, at least one day prior to this meeting, so we can debate it. And all of a sudden, we have this new information from our attorney that's saying, contrary to this this resolution, all these things that all these consequences. Why was it? Could you show me or tell me when that email was sent out requesting this information from Brent?
Michael can answer that question. But I'll answer your question partially, is that the council has asked for this to go in sort of a rapid fashion. First we asked to have it put on the study session, then we asked to have it, you all asked to have it put on a council agenda because it's timely. It's very difficult to ask Labor and Industries to provide information as quickly as they did. So it was interesting that they were able to get back to us even before this meeting. The council does have the opportunity to move this whole discussion to another date. So you'd have time to peruse this information that's been provided to us. But Michael, can you address Councilmember DePino's question?
Yeah, and I'll read the email that was sent out to council, but essentially going back, council, you asked this at a meeting and said, you know, what's their enforcement authority? And I said, I would follow up. And I think at the last meeting, I said, I've reached out to them. Cody and I were actually out to lunch one day when I was trying to reach out to L&I and talk about that. At the same time, on Tuesday, May 25th, Councilmember Blair said that he would like a discussion added to the study session about possible action to prohibit the city from collecting information. He sent a proposal of his language, which then I added to the agenda that you had. I said I was following up with L&I I then reached out to LNI and said, and this is all in the email that you received, on Wednesday, June 2nd, I sent them an email at 10:22 a.m. that said, "Dear LNI, I'm writing to follow up on a question from a council member about their enforcement authority, about your enforcement authority at LNI, and another question about a proposal that a council member was making." And I copied exactly what Councilmember Blair put in his email. She was kind enough to respond to us on Monday, June 7th at 2:37 p.m. Out of respect for Councilmember Blair, I talked with him today and said, here's the information I got. I think that we should send it out to council. He concurred. We sent it out. At the same time, at that point where I sent it out to council, our attorney has been copied on all this information. And Councilmember Blair and I talked about the importance of having an attorney review this. He agreed and said that would be smart. And so we copied our attorney on that email. He then responded with this one to council at 5:14. So, and it's all in the email that you have. I know that the last one from the attorney came in at 5:14.
Sure.
But this is consistent with the thread and communication, and we printed it out for EJ for her records at her request.
And I appreciate the due diligence after Councilmember Blair, letting him know, let you know his intention to write the resolution. But I had asked for those consequences though I think about 2 weeks prior to that, the meeting before that. Why was an email sent at that point rather than after? And regardless of that, an email to the attorney, our attorney could have easily terminated or got the ball rolling at least if it was done a month ago when it was first brought up, rather than getting an answer today. And I get your timeline. I'm following it.
Did council ask for a legal review?
I had asked for the consequences from LNI. I did not ask for a legal review, but as city administrator, I mean, you could have easily have made that jump saying, this is what would happen to the city if we don't follow these rules according to our attorney. And that's why we have the attorney to look up these questions. Shame on me for not being more specific. And next time I will be. I don't think it's appropriate necessarily for me to direct, city staff or anything, but rather than ask questions. But in the future, I will.
I think the clear point is you asked for what LNI's authority is. I made the decision to reach out to LNI and ask them what their authority is, and we have that answer. And like I said, Cody and I were out to lunch and just trying to get a hold of them saying, hey, this is timely, this is coming, they want an answer for this. And we got it as soon as possible, and we got it directly from the horse's mouth.
I appreciate you emailing them when you're out with Cody, but it didn't have to be during that lunch with him or anything. But all right, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and move to approve resolution number 616.
Second, James Blair.
Motion and second, further discussion? Councilmember Wood?
My concern, I'm sure, as a lot of the concern here at the council is the ramifications of this. It seems that what we're going to basically fall back on is our state constitution and our rights as citizens in this state. I don't believe that LNI is going to have a leg to stand on here because I don't believe their mandate is legal. So I encourage, and normally, as I'm sure you all know, this is not my lane to normally do this, but I encourage all of us to vote to approve this, because somebody's going to have to step up. And, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to have to be us. Thank you.
I'd like to call for a roll call vote, please.
I will. I'm just waiting to see if Councilmember Kaminsky wanted to weigh in, or Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I totally agree with the resolution, and nobody wants to be in fear. Nobody wants to do anything bad for the city or our constituents. But I agree with Council Wood that there are states all over the country challenging these weird rules that they're putting us through. And I would love to see us be a way shower. I think it's timely, and I don't think there's a danger, and I think it would be great.
Councilmember Smith.
Councilmember Smith.
And I just wanted to echo those comments too. Part of the reason that I wanted to be on the council was to try to make change, and change is not always going to be easy, but you need to start somewhere. So I think it's a good start.
Okay, typically, this is not a point where the mayor would give his opinion on this.
I have a comment, please.
Again, James,
Said he has a comment.
go ahead, Councilmember Blair. Sorry.
Again, I just want to make this very clear. It's not a political thing. From my own view, and it's been echoed throughout the community, not only ours, throughout this entire country. This whole thing has been resulting in massive just discrimination against people one way or the other. And at the end of the day, the way I feel, I'm not speaking for anyone other than myself, is whether or not someone gets vaccinated is their own decision. It's a decision between them and their doctor and their families, and it's no one else's business. And unfortunately, with the way things are going with this one, it's, oh, well, people shouldn't feel coerced or pressured to go and get something. And they shouldn't be treated differently if they don't. Now, whether L&I wants to come and say that they have authority over this or that or whatever, or a local ordinance doesn't trump state policy, with that, they're hypocritical in that themselves. This state does things against the federal government all the time. At the end of this is about what's right and wrong. And the way this whole thing is going and the way people are treated regarding this vaccination and this entire COVID situation we've been in for the last year and a half, it's unacceptable. Just straight period, it's unacceptable. And there's no way I can sit back and stand by and watch our city taking part of it anymore.
Any other questions, discussion? I will call for the roll call vote. On the issue of the resolution as described, Councilmember Blair, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Carmody?
No.
Councilmember Curry?
No.
Councilmember Wood?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember DePinto?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky?
Yes.
The motion to approve the resolution passes. And I will just make a statement based on the passing of that resolution. So here's the thing. Each of us took an oath of office that declared our intent to follow the laws that were set down by local, county, state, and federal agencies, right down to our very own council and mayor protocol handbook, which was updated and adopted unanimously by council this last year. So by voting yes on this resolution, you say that your declaration of fealty to a time-tested set of laws was not your truth. You're saying that you'll pick and choose the winners of the laws and the rules that best suit your agenda. And your oath is no longer your word. That's on you. My job is to protect the city of Yelm, its employees, and the citizens we serve, and provide them with the best services we can under the circumstances. And I intend to fulfill not only my professional expectations, but to honor my word, my oath of office, and do the right thing for Yelm. Your resolution is non-binding and will not prevent me from doing my job. Furthermore, Labor and Industries has made it clear that this city council does not have the authority to prevent them from doing their job. And lastly, keep in mind that although you're very concerned about how this is going down, the tail does not wag the dog. Meaning that if you want to change state law, you're going to need a different approach than passing resolutions. Good luck with that. Perhaps in 2022, with a new council and mayor in place, you can make up your own rules and convince the state of Washington to follow your enlightened lead. But from here on in, we're still following the rules that were set down by labor and industries. So with that, we will go on to our next agenda item, which is Thurston County Disaster Recovery Interlocal Agreement. Chief Stanson.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Well, I will be not asking for money, and this is not very controversial, so thank you for saving me for last on the agenda. It's great to see some of you in person, some of you on the wall. Welcome, Councilmember Smith, to the wall. Great to see everyone. So we'll dive right into this. So this is an interlocal agreement establishing the Thurston County Disaster Recovery Council. So just as a little bit of a current background, I won't read the whole thing. Councilmember Curry loves when I do that. The agreement was drafted by the Thurston County Emergency Management Council and regional recovery stakeholders to establish a disaster recovery council. The agreement's been reviewed by Thurston County Prosecutor's Office, as well as each jurisdiction's legal representation. The DRC will be a temporary work group consisting of representatives appointed from each signatory party to the agreement. The council will serve as a coordinating organization to advise its members on effective disaster recovery practices. Membership includes Thurston counties, cities, tribes, and special purpose districts within the border of Thurston County. The formation of the council will commence upon the signature of the 6th signatory agency. There is no cost associated with participating in the DRC, just commitment to have a representative serve on the council. So having said that, I will gladly take any questions. This is, the only thing I will add to it is this probably would have been brought forth last year, except the COVID created some pretty significant delays as far as legal reviews and working out the legalities of the language within this council. Councilmember Carmen.
Yeah, I'm really kind of confused. I see where it says that in the agenda, but then on the next item after the resolution 616, we're talking about TCOM. And
It would appear that the PDF for the wrong
am I looking in the wrong?
agreement got put in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shouldn't be the TCOM thing on there.
So I thought that we already had a sort of an emergency board.
So we have
Because
a,
you came and talked to us about Cascadia Rising. And
yeah, so we have an emergency management council,
Okay.
which I still serve on and represent. This is a specific council that will be put together on a temporary basis. The plan is 1 to 2 years tops, that we will create a disaster recovery council. And what I mean by that is there will be a representative from each council of all the cities, counties that would serve on this. They might meet quarterly, bi-yearly, and they would talk about basically recovery efforts from a Thurston County perspective. So rather than the city of Yelm going, oh, our roads are washed out, our bridges are washed out, what are we going to do, city of Yelm? This would be more of a regional approach to, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. And instead of looking at it as individuals, we come together and say, this is how we're going to address that. So
I thought that we already had that.
no, we don't have this. And so where this came about, and this might help just a little bit, is when we did the integrated emergency management course at Ocean Shores back in 2019,
Right.
what came from that was the desire from the group and from the elected officials present to create this work group to have a better plan in place should Cascadia hit.
So this is a subgroup or
Yes.
pre-group
Some
of
of the council.
of the
group.
council, which will be a permanent thing, which like probably one of us will go
Yes,
to represent.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yep, exactly. Yes.
Molly, I don't know if it's in your paper packet, but if you scroll down on the PDF that was provided in the electronic packet, it's under that TCOM thing that you saw. It's on page 25 of 43.
Thurston, okay, interlocal cooperative agreement for
Correct.
Thurston County disaster. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Page 25 of the PDF, yeah.
So that's what we're asking for approval for the mayor to sign the interlocal agreement for the Thurston County
Yes.
Disaster Recovery Interlocal.
Yes, correct.
And this won't cost us any money.
No, just a body. Probably me.
It'll probably be EJ. We'll send EJ.
Oh, yeah, I'm keeping my car filled at all times, you know.
I do want to do a little clarification based on your comment, though, Molly. During that
EMC.
IEMC, thank you, that I attended, the consensus was, and this was a consensus of all the regional players here, that if we were to come together as a recovery council, it would be in fact to help decide how to spend monies that would be coming in for relief from that disaster. So rather than Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, or Yelm all making their own decisions, this recovery council would say, here comes a certain amount of money. How could we best spend this in which jurisdiction to help us all recover as a region? Which is something new. People had not thought about doing this before. We were basically the first one to use the FEMA team to come out and run this exercise for the purpose of creating a regional recovery council. So it's kind of groundbreaking, kind of Thurston County way of doing
It really
things.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really, the idea is that we have that discussion before the significant event, so that there is at least a plan, an outline of this is what we're gonna do should something like this happen. And right now, again, individual cities may have a plan, just like we have our own emergency management plan. Everybody has their own plan. This is more of a regional recovery specific plan for a significant event such as Cascadia, or anything else that would put us down for weeks and months at a time. So the other thing that I will add to this is for the creation of this, Thurston County does have grant money that's available to help develop this recovery plan. And so the time sensitivity of creating this council and getting to work, it does have some money implications from a county perspective, and that we're using some outside sources to come in and help pull this all together, rather than all of us sitting around a table saying, what do you think? What do you think? And so it's nice that we're in that position to be able to do that. So.
Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize Mayor Foster sign the interlocal agreement for the Thurston County Disaster Recovery Council.
Second.
Any other questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Councilmember Kaminsky and Blair?
No.
That was a no from Councilmember Blair. Councilmember Kaminsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Wood?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
And, oh, you are there. Sorry, couldn't see you over this. So now Cody Cole, Public Services Director, will talk to us about the long-awaited Thurston County Solid Waste Ordinance.
So before you have a resolution and an ordinance. The reason why there's two separate ones is a resolution is authorizing an amendment to the interlocal agreement. And I'll talk about that briefly and then we'll move on to the ordinance. So in front of you first is resolution 615, allowing us to amend and restate the interlocal agreement between the city of Yelm and Thurston County for solid waste management and planning. And to clarify, solid waste management is trash, not biosolids, as some people confuse them with sometimes. So this is trash and where that location is and where we deliver our trash to in the county and where it has to be taken. So the resolution in front of you of 615 authorizes the changing of that amendment to allow us to adopt the new locations and move our trash to those locations. And we've talked about this in ad nauseum. This is the third meeting we've chatted about this. You guys had the presentation from Thurston County Solid Waste Committee. And last week we had fielded questions during the the study session. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If you thought of anything during that time, I can.
This is regarding flow control.
Yes, flow control, yes.
James, did you have any questions or comments for Cody or for Karen Weiss, who is not, who is also attending tonight?
Me personally, I don't support flow control. I don't like the idea of forcing where the garbage needs to be taken. That's just me personally. I understand the justifications behind it, but I don't support it.
Any other questions for Cody? The action is, there's two things that have to happen. He's put it nicely in one action requested that would approve both the resolution and the ordinance simultaneously if somebody wants to entertain that.
I move that we authorize I move to approve resolution number 615 and ordinance 1075.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Any opposed? Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Thank you, Cody.
Thank you, council.
All right, that takes care of our business for the evening. We will now go on to department updates, and I believe Michael Graham has a couple for us. We'll go on to council members.
Coming, I see him.
Is he running? Is he running?
Yeah, he's briskly walking.
We don't allow running in the workplace either.
Scissors.
I'll even give the 20 seconds of my time. I'll yield that to Councilmember Curry since I was a little late. She only gave me 3 minutes. So a couple of high points. We are going through on the Education and Innovation Center, and that proposal, the outreach is continuing. We're working with the consultant, and more information should come basically as we reach out to council and other business members in the community, which will then lead in architectural rendering for that potential building. So we're having great conversations with potential stakeholders like South Puget Sound Community College and the library. More to come at a future meeting.
When can I get a chance to talk to them?
That's going to come at a different meeting. They're just working on the survey right now. They're going to push it out, and we'll have an update plan and time frame. But I wanted to let you know it had been kind of tabled for a while, and so that's getting back up and going. I know that was a point of interest for council. It was also a point of interest for council. You asked what the status is on the Wayfarer signs. This is something that was funded through the Lodging Tax Advisory Council. There have been ideas, I guess, proposed to the Economic Development Community or Council Committee that has essentially been paused for now just because of lack of capacity. We have Tammy transitioning out. We had Stefan take a job elsewhere, and then we have Grant retiring. And so they're really focusing on the big rocks, but they'll pick up the Wayfarer sign initiative as soon as things get settled. Obviously, we're in a part of an employee transition with Grant's departure and the Public Services Department being established. So more news to come there, but I just wanted to follow up. No work has been done on that lately, and that'll be paused just due to capacity issues. The other things, just giving you a quick look ahead, we are going to have Summit Law come in and do a negotiations training, kind of a Union 101. How does the negotiation process work? That'll be on a future agenda of yours. You've asked for a review of the labor attorney contract and essentially putting out an RFP. Councilmember Carmody provided some information. That's either going to go to the General Government Committee or the Finance Committee. I defer to you all of where you want that to be initially worked through and then brought back before the council. But that was an item that Councilmember Carmody requested along with the Finance Committee when we did the budget adjustment. And so that's on the docket, on the horizon. Also coming up, we will have a budget amendment, just like our finance director outlined at the last study session. That's going to happen on June 22nd. If you guys want to make that the first reading and take action later, if you want to just make the adjustment, we're really looking at this as a rebasing of things come June 22nd. So you're not going to see anything other than just really right sizing and reconciling the budget, which is something that you take formal action on the 22nd. We're also going to have the discussion at the July study session on the 640 acres, which is something that was requested at the last meeting. And then on the August study session, we're going to have a conversation about the American Recovery and Relief Funds, the amount that the city will be receiving, what that can and can't be used for, and some project ideas, may dovetail nicely with the 640 acre conversation that you're having before. So just wanted to give you that quick look ahead. There is no update on the painting of the water tower. Still, oh, there's an email.
Yeah.
This just in.
Yeah, the historic water tower, as you see outside, is supposed to be finished painting by the end of this month. The lights are gonna be delivered next month.
In my report.
Oh, never mind, I take back everything I said. I'll fill in for anything missed later.
There you go. And I'm back to yielding my time to Councilmember.
It's not me.
No, it's
So Michael, that I have no report. Councilmember Blair. Councilmember Blair, you have a report?
Sorry. I don't have a report because there hasn't been any meetings. But I am fairly disappointed with what just happened tonight. And honestly, when I first came into this, and shortly before, this mayor and city administrator, I remember talking to me, talking how what their job was to carry out, or back up, city council makes the policy and their job is to carry out that policy. There wasn't a veto, and whether something's non-binding or not, that's determined in court. So why do we even have a city council if the mayor's just going to do what he wants anyway?
Do you have anything else for report, Councilmember Blair?
That's it.
Councilmember Carmody?
So I would remind Councilmember Blair that the council is in charge of making and passing rules and laws, whereas the legislative branch of the government, whereas the executive branch of the government is in charge of enforcing those laws. That's the same across the state. It's the same across the federal rules. I would encourage Councilmember Blair to review his constitutional law if this seems to be a problem. That being said, at the intercity transit meeting, we adopted the 2022 to 2025 Transportation Improvement Program for projects with anticipated more transportation funding. So we're very excited about that. We're getting new seats for more of our buses because some of the seats are pretty junked up by now. So that's very exciting too. And we also talked about the Community Advisory Committee. If anybody is interested in serving on the Community Advisory Committee to Intercity Transit, you can go to their website and look for the application there. And last but not least, we are very, very excited on the Homelessness Task Force Committee to announce that the nonprofit organization that we're working with is called Love Abounds Here, will be hosting the first ever Yelm Community Resource Fair. And this is not just for homeless people, it's for everybody in Yelm, regardless of income. It will be on June 24th, 2021, from 2:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. right here at our community center. All welcome. They are going to have all kinds of programs and organizations that will be there to talk to you and answer your questions and to see if you can get help in any areas from family support services, youth programs, health insurance, food cards, telephones, housing solutions, rent assistance, utility assistance, drug abuse treatments, legal advice and resources, mediation and conflict resolution, as well as help with domestic violence and abuse. So everybody's welcome. Come get your questions answered. Hopefully they can point you to the right place. That's all I got.
Where is that held?
That is at the Yelm Community Center on June 24th at 2:30 to 6:30 p.m.
Will you check? Yes.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
No, I just forwarded a text message to you that I need you to take action on if you can.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with this council meeting tonight, but it's important. Councilmember Curry.
Well, on May 27th with the mayor, we watched the crane move the new restroom into Cochran Park. It was amazing. I wish y'all,
I missed it.
I know it was 44,000 pounds.
Wow.
And it was great, but, and then on the 28th was the opening of the splash park, which was cold. But one young child did go through. It was cold. Then last Saturday was opening of the farmer's market, and it seems like it's even better than last year. And we had a meeting on the fire levy signs. And we'll probably be asking for donations from some people. And that brings me to the historic water tower meeting. And yes, Cody, he's planning to be done with the painting by the 30th. The lighting package is on order. Installation, Steve is aiming for maybe Christmas in the park. The committee's gonna meet, well, first Steve is gonna meet with Michael and Cody about the landscaping plan. And then our committee's gonna take a look. We're gonna put up an interpretive kiosk. And we've got fencing coming to go around the whole water tower. And we have a power pole to remove. And then we should be done.
Is it gonna stay that kind of white color?
No, he's gonna paint it.
Oh, okay.
He's still got paint. And then the lights are coming and they're gonna be all colored things and I don't know, it's gonna be miraculous. And then I was at the farmer's market Saturday, and for the senior center, we want to shout out to Paul York of York Enterprises. He offered to come down and fix our broken down lawnmower so we could mow the lawn. He serviced it completely, resharpened all the blades. He's a wonder. We can't thank him enough. And that's it.
Councilmember Wood.
Actually, I believe it's Councilmember Smith prior to me.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. Well, I was supposed to have my first committee meeting today ever, but it was moved, so I don't have that. But I did attend the farmer's market, the ribbon cutting, and that was, it was great to see everybody out there. That's all I have.
Councilmember Wood.
Thank you. I don't have a report, but I am a little shocked at how this meeting went. A little shocked and honestly a little insulted that someone would take, the mayor would take my oath and the rest of the council's oath into consideration of how seriously we take that. You know, what we're doing or what we're attempting to do is in fact, look out for our citizens and look out for our city, you know, look out for from being pushed in a situation where I don't believe LNI has the authority to request this from us. Of course, as to avoid being condemned by Councilmember Carmody for not knowing my constitutional law, I think that it sounds it just seems sketchy. And once again, I'm a little insulted that that would be taken into the, you know, it's spoken as our oath as if we don't take them seriously, when in fact, that's the whole reason we're here and the whole reason we're looking out for them. I'm thankful that this wasn't the mindset in 1776 when the Americans decided they had had enough of being pushed around by England, and when England was overstepping the rules that they had made for us to follow. So it's a disappointing day for me. It really is, and I see the slipping of our rights and freedoms just a little bit more. So that's my report, and I wish us all luck in this situation and the ones moving forward.
Councilmember Kaminsky. We've done it again. Councilmember DePinto.
Thank you, Mayor.
Everybody's all over the place here.
Attended the Memorial Day events, flag raising ceremonies at the Yelm Cemetery. Attended the opening day for the farmer's market. Just to echo on Councilmember Carmody regarding the homelessness task force. Just want to say that it's not Yelm taxpayer money that's being funded for any of this besides the usage of the community center. This is all nonprofits and all volunteer organizations that are putting this together, as well as some state agencies. Yeah, I guess I too was a little disappointed in the mayor's prepared remarks, talking about how certain council members didn't take their oath seriously, and it's not just an oath to to our local laws here and state laws, also the United States Constitution as well. And I do take that very seriously, and I was disappointed to hear that you don't think that I do, and other council members don't as well. So that's it.
Your actions stood for what you stand for. That's fine. Councilmember Kaminsky.
Yeah, I have to concur. I'm sitting here feeling a little numb. And so I will just acknowledge the majority of the council that stood up for what we thought was right. And we pledged allegiance to the Constitution, not to L&I. And change is hard. And I just salute the people that are brave enough to stand up and say what they want. And I don't have to show anything when I go to Safeway. And so I would like to come to City Hall and just do my thing and be with you in person. And nobody intends to break the law, but change can come. So thank you to the council that took a chance and stood up. And I attended the chamber lunch, so I'll let you talk about that, Mayor Foster.
Yeah, I did have one really good interaction today. I went into Olympia to meet the new director of the Olympia Visitor and Convention Bureau, Annette Pitts. And while I was there, I ran into a fellow that works for the organization, fairly new to the area. Well, fairly, not that new. But what he told me was very interesting, is that his 14-year-old son is a BMX bike I don't know, protege or something, and he does BMX bikes events all over the region. And he gave me the feedback that that group of young athletes, and older in fact, consider the Yelm Skate Park to be one of the best in the region. In fact, in his vernacular, he said, quote, "The Yelm Skate Park is dope, Dad." So, and I think that's good. So this gentleman gave me a great opinion on how all of these different amenities that we provide for different facets of our community are appreciated, and it makes Yelm regionally important in another way. So good on all of us for having provided that amenity, which brings joy to people in our community. And if there's no other good of the order,
To adjourn.
there was a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, and we adjourn. Staff, thank you for your help getting this set up. And remember, the camera and microphone is still live for